Welcome to the course on observations. We observe children all the time as early years practitioners. For example, we see a child fall over, we run to help or support them. We watch them climbing, sometimes we might stand back and wait to see what support they need, and when they need it, we jump in to help. Observation is not something that's new or strange to early years practitioners. It's something that we do all the time in our work. This kind of observation that I've been talking about is called formative assessment, where we make an assessment to inform our next steps or what we're going to do next to support children. But observation is a formal process, and all good early years practitioners use observation as part of their practice to support children's learning and support their development. There's many different kinds of observations that you can carry out depending what it is that you want to know, why you're observing the child. For example, if you want to know how long a child is spending in different learning areas in the classroom, you might do a time sampling observation where every 5 minutes you check in, you see what the child's doing and you record that. Event sampling might be if you want to sample a particular type of behaviour or a particular event that's happening in your classroom. For example, how often Shahar bites. If you've noticed that Shahar's biting has become an issue, you might hold an event sampling observation that's specifically related to Shahar's biting, for example. All observations do is they help you build up a picture of what's going on for an individual child or for a group of children. And through this picture, it should inform what you do as a practitioner next. So the old cyclical diagram that says observe, analyze, plan, P-A-O-A-P. You observe what children are doing, you analyze against developmental milestones to see what milestones they were achieving, what milestones they could be achieving with more support, and then you plan your activities, you plan the environment, and you plan what to do next. So every single early years diploma or qualification includes an element of teaching practitioners how to carry out observations, how to assess observations, and how to plan for next steps. So this short course, which is only 3 to 4 hours long, will support you in understanding the wider concept of why we do observations and what observations are for, how they can be used in an early years setting to inform your practice, to inform your next steps, and to gather evidence. And this course will also help you in actually conducting and carrying out observations. It will teach you explicitly how to complete a narrative observation, which is, the course will teach you how to complete a running record or a narrative observation, which is basically where you record what a child says and what a child does, and then relate that to some developmental milestones to identify what they're achieving, and then use that information to plan for your next steps. So you will learn how to do that within this course. As part of completing this course, in the conclusion, there is an assignment that we're asking you to do. And what you need to do is actually carry out your own child development observation of a real child in a real early years setting using the template that we've suggested, and then upload that to this course. In the conclusion, there's a section where you need to upload that, and then we will look at that and give you feedback on your observation skills. The course will also help you with determining how you use objective rather than subjective language, and has got examples of good and bad observations to give you a sense of what you're aiming for. As always, through this course, there are quizzes in each section that we ask you to do. This section, the course is divided into 5 sections. Section 1 is what is an observation and why bother. Section 2 introduces you to the developmental framework. And the developmental framework, well, there's developmental frameworks in all countries, well, many countries, for early years. We've highlighted 3 of them, and we will be showing you in more detail the EYFS, which is the developmental framework 0 to 5 that's used in England. And you can use that developmental framework to make links to what you're observing. So, for example, if you observe children in the block play area and you're doing an observation there, that might also include language, that might include fine or gross motor skills, for example, and then you would look at the EYFS and identify which of the milestones in which areas of learning are being evidenced through that observation that you've carried out. And that is very important because that then leads you to think about how you plan for your next steps. What else can we do for this child? Either an individual target that we can set for the child and work on collaboratively, with the rest of the early years team, or activity that you could plan that could be offered to that child and other children, or the way that you plan and organize the environment to support the child's development based on the observations that you've taken. Observations will also give you an insight into children's needs and their interests. So section 3 in this course looks at different types of observations. I talked about some of those at the beginning of this short video. Section 4 focuses on how to carry out the observation, and section 5 is all about how to write it up and how to do that really important analysis that's required. In each section, there are a number of quizzes which we ask you to do. Obviously, once you've done the quizzes, before you complete in the conclusion, before you click finished and do your course completion form, you can click grades in the blue bar at the top of your screen, and you can check that you have a grade for all of the quizzes. And of course, in the resource section, you can always go back and you can redo any of the quizzes that you either didn't score top notch on, or that you want to go back and revisit. Or if you're super keen, you might want to just do all those quizzes one more time before you sign off on finishing the course. At the end of the conclusion section, there is, of course, further reading and research that you can do. There's some additional videos that you can watch, some chapters that you can read from textbooks that will extend your knowledge of observations. And if you're new to observations, then I really would recommend you delving into some of that additional reading just to reinforce some of the points on the course. So happy observing, and jump in. You have 3 to 4 hours of learning now on observations to do. Enjoy.